Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to talk about CSS Box Model. Now the CSS Box Model is one of the most important concepts you need to learn to master CSS, and it is quite easy to learn. Now there are two major and fundamental concepts in CSS. One is the idea of everything being a box, and two, CSS specificity. Now, CSS specificity is a little bit more of an advanced topic. So we are gonna come back to CSS specificity in like 10 to 15 lectures later. But CSS Box Model is quite easy to learn, and we need to learn it right off the bat so we can understand CSS way better. Now, here we have our HTML, here we have an empty CSS file, and here I've opened the CSS Box Model.html file. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click and I'm going to say inspect. When you inspect and when the Chrome window is small, you're going to see CSS HTML on top and CSS in the bottom. But if you go full screen on this Chrome, on the left side, we're going to see HTML. On the right side, we're going to see CSS. I'm going to bring this up. This representation on the bottom right corner, I'm going to zoom in. This is the CSS Box Model. There we go. So this is one of the most important and fundamental concepts in CSS. And if you want to master CSS, you need to learn this first. Now, CSS Box Model says everything in CSS is a box. Excuse me. So when we have boxes in CSS, what does that actually mean? What does this sentence mean? That everything in CSS is box. I mean, CSS is nothing without HTML. And if we don't have any HTML, we don't have any CSS either. So what it actually means is that every HTML element is considered to be a box in CSS. So it doesn't matter what that HTML element is. Even if it is the HTML root element, the body element, the head element, H1, paragraph, buttons, images, doesn't really matter. As long as it is in the realm of HTML, it is considered to be an HTML element. But when it crosses over to the realm of CSS, CSS considers that element to be a box. Now, when it is a box, it is going to contain different properties, different sections, different components. Each box consists of 4 major sections. So the first one is the content within that box. So let's take a look at each of them one by one. I'm going to create an HTML element. And when this HTML element is crossed into the world of CSS, it is going to become a box. Keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and let's select it here. So this is our paragraph. There we go. Now let's talk about this box model. We are going to cover each individual part or component of this box model, like padding, border, and margin in our upcoming lectures. For now, this is just a general overview of that. So what do we have here? Now, every HTML element, again, when it crosses over to the world of CSS, is a box. Each box consists of 4 major parts. The first one is the content of that box. There we go. So this, the most inner part or rectangle is the content. And when you hover on it, only the content of that box will be highlighted. As you can see in our web page, it is highlighted and it has some sort of blue overlay. It is not a background, it is an overlay. And it shows the dimensions of that content. The first value is the width or the horizontal dimension, and the second one is the height or the vertical dimension. So it is 1520. It means that there are 1520 pixels within the horizontal dimension of this box, the content of this box, not this box. This general thing, this entire thing is the box, but this is the dimensions of the content of the box. And there are 18.4 pixels in the height or vertical dimension of the content of this box. These are very technical. If you understand this, then you will have understood the entire CSS. So after that, we have padding. We don't have any padding. That's why you can see there is like hyphens there. After that, we have borders, and after that, we have margins. Now, we have not applied any styles on this paragraph. You can see that this style is empty. It is connected to this file. So where do these two values they come from? We have talked about browser default values. These are browser default values, the values that the browser applies by default. And they are 16 pixels of margin on the top and 16 pixels of margin on the bottom. So let's go over this box model one more time. The innermost component of the box model is the content of the box. Then we have the padding. Padding is spacing within the content. And then we have border, which is around the padding. And then we have margin, which is around the border. So if you want to separate two CSS boxes, you need to separate them. You can separate them by their margins. We are going to talk about padding and border margin in our upcoming lectures. For now, just keep this box model in mind. So, and what I'm going to do is, you know what? I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to provide any CSS styling. This was just a beginner introduction to the CSS box model. That's it for this lecture. See you in the next one.